I grew up in Appalachia, and this is one of the scariest things that ever happened to me while I was hunting. So a lot of y'all like hearing me talk about like my wife's Native American folklore stuff that she's passed on to me. But this one is actually not anything to do with her side of the family as much as it is to do with my Appalachia side of the family and what it was truly like growing up in Appalachia like I did. Big shocker. If you guys didn't know that, that's where I grew up at. That's where this accent comes from. So the phenomenon is called a ghost light. It goes by other names, and I'm not talking about like fey lights or fairy lights. I'm talking about ghost lights where it literally looks like someone is carrying a lantern or a flashlight. It is a very distinctive beam of light or ball of light, depending on how you witness it. And I'm literally getting chills talking about this right now because it's not something I really enjoy doing a whole lot. But you guys seem really interested in my stories about this kind of stuff. Because, talking about it can invite it back in to happen again. So anyhow, when I was in my early 20s, I was out on my family's property. I grew up on a huge cattle ranch out there in the Appalachian Mountains. And I was out there hunting a spot that I'd hunted a million times as a kid. I hadn't been there in quite a while. It had been some time since I'd been back. And there's this trail where it's a dead end at the end of this trail. It's like a sheer drop off of bluffs. I mean, just straight cliffs at the end of this trail. My family owns the 400 acres around it almost, the nearly 400 acres around it. And all the neighboring lands are also like my other relatives' lands. So if you combine it all, there's nobody that I wouldn't know for God knows how far. Which if you guys are unfamiliar with like Appalachian traditions, it's pretty common that whole families will go somewhere and buy a whole hillside or a whole mountainside together and literally own everything that you can see. So I go out about 5:30 in the morning. It's still dark there, and I get situated on the ridge that I'm hunting. A clear beam of light comes through. Clear beam of light. Looked like somebody turned on a flashlight. Now, I was the only one that came in there. I came with my cousin. My cousin was back behind me on the trail, another 100 yards back behind me. So there's no way anybody could have been in front of me down this trail, considering that we're the only ones out there. We're the only ones that have access to this property, and this trail ends in a dead end on this cliff. So I'm just sitting there in the dark, just watching where I see this beam of light at. And I know it's going to be daylight in about 30 minutes. So I'm just watching because the light came on for about a good 5 to 10 seconds, like a good amount of time to just sit there and stare at a flashlight. And it didn't waver, it didn't move. It was just like shing, shing. And I thought, okay, when my eyes adjust or when it gets daylight, I'm going to see who's over there because they can't get out of here. Their only way out is to walk past me. And I'm just watching, just waiting to see who it is. I thought maybe somebody was trying to signal to me that, hey, I'm out here, like, don't shoot me. And by the way, after this, hunting trip was over, when I met back up with my cousin, he verified that he also saw the beam of light because, like I said, it's total darkness, so any light is going to draw your eye right away. So he was 100 yards back down the opposite direction of the trail than I was, and he also saw this light. And when I tell you I did not take my eyes off this spot for the next half hour, I did not even hardly blink. Light came, and there's nobody there. So I walk over, because I'm at this point, I'm like, forget the deer hunt. I'm going to walk over to exactly where that light came from, and I'm going to look around, okay, to see if I see any disturbances or like maybe a homeless person that snuck way back there in the woods or something. And when I get to where that light came from, it is a straight drop-off cliff. Like if I would have walked over there in the dark to investigate the light, there's a good chance I would have fallen off this cliff and died. And that's a very important detail when it comes to this phenomenon. Because a lot of people talk about how these lights lure people to get lost in the woods or lure them to like bad fates. And that would have 100% been what my fate would have been if I would have walked over there to where this light was at. I would have just fallen in the darkness. This all ties back into things I've talked about on here before called the missing 411. If you guys haven't looked up that crazy investigation, you need to. It's where you can essentially lay maps over like the cave systems in the United States and the missing people reports, and they match really spot on. This area is covered in caves. So I love hearing your guys' similar stories. If you have anything that you can relate to on that, definitely drop it in the comments. If you guys have heard anything about that kind of situation, also drop it to us. I would love to hear your thoughts on this kind of stuff or what kind of phenomenons you want me to talk about next.